John Milne.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I pay tribute to all the moving speeches we've heard so far tonight. There are few losses in life more devastating than that of a child. It's every parent's greatest fear. But when a baby dies, just as life is beginning, at the very moment when joy and expectation is at its highest, the pain is all the harder to bear. Chloe and Toby, from my constituency of Horsham, along with 9 other Sussex families, have gone through this unimaginable experience. Their babies died in the care of University Hospital Sussex NHS Trust between 2021 and 2023. Chloe and Toby aren't natural campaigners. It's not something they ever expected or wanted to do. They're simply grieving parents looking for truth, accountability, and above all, change. University Hospital Sussex, like public services in general, is under immense pressure. Staff are working in a system stretched beyond capacity. I want to acknowledge those efforts, the countless clinicians, midwives and support staff who show up day in and day out. They have also been let down by the system. It's not just the families. Nevertheless, the fact remains something has gone seriously wrong. 9 babies have died in circumstances the families believe were avoidable. And thus far, they have not had satisfactory answers. Fundamentally, this is about trust. Trust needs to be restored. For that to happen, we first need to fully understand what went wrong. I understand that things can go wrong in any profession, and my own father was an obstetrician. But unfortunately, in obstetrics, the consequences can be devastating. I very much support the words of the Honourable Member for Godalming and Ash, who said this is not about launching some kind of witch hunt. The key thing is, which can actually get in the way of preventing further tragedies in the future. Because what we need to focus on is avoiding blame and openly sharing and fixing problems. We must shine a light on past mistakes. In Sussex, members of Parliament from across the House are working together on this issue, and I look forward to continuing those conversations later in this week with my colleagues locally. And but the trust itself acknowledges that improvements are needed, and I welcome the work already underway to make maternity care safer. But if this review is to succeed, if it is to carry the confidence of the very people it is meant to serve, it must be guided by the right person. The government has appointed Baroness Amos to lead the review. She commands great respect, and I have no question about her personal abilities or integrity. However, as I said, the key issue here is trust, and in that respect, she is not the right choice for Sussex. So I'm asking the Secretary of State for Health to listen to what the families are saying in Sussex, that Donna Ockenden be appointed to oversee the review at university hospitals.
Will my honourable friend give way?
I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way and for highlighting the trust that Donna Ockenden has built with those Sussex families, and indeed the families in Nottingham, Shrewsbury and Telford, and the work that she's done. Her report in 2022 laid out immediate and essential actions. She deliberately didn't call them recommendations. They were actions that needed to be taken. They must be delivered in full. So does my honourable friend agree with me that we can't lose any more time, and these actions need to happen alongside the inquiry that is now taking place? We can't afford to delay. These families deserve to see those actions implemented now.
I thank my honourable friend for her intervention, my fellow Sussex MP, and I very much agree with her. Donna is a midwife herself, and she has been personally involved with the families in Sussex. I understand that concerns... I will give way, yes.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and the points that he's making about the choice of people to oversee the review or inquiry were echoed or reflect the points made to me by 2 of my constituents, Amjarit and Mandeep, who would have their daughter with them today were it not for failures at the Leeds General Infirmary. And the point they've made to me is that they want any review or inquiry to be clearly and demonstrably independent from people who've had a role in running the Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust in the past. Would my honourable friend agree with me and agree with my constituents on this point, and share my hope and trust that the Secretary of State will weigh that request very heavily before he meets with families?
thank the member for his intervention, and yes, I think sounds like a very similar situation. As I said, this is all about trust. So I understand that concerns have been raised about Donna's workload and the risk of relying too heavily on one person, but Donna has indicated that she is willing to participate. I am sure that she wouldn't say so unless she were confident that she could give this task the care and attention it needs. Unless we restore trust, we risk further harm, further delays and further grief. And that is something none of us wish to see. Thank you.
Which brings us to the front bench contributions, perhaps in the region of 8 minutes each. Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Honourable and Right Honourable Members for Rossendale and Darwen, Godalming and Ash and Sherwood Forest must be thanked not just for bringing this debate to mark Baby Loss Awareness Week, but for their tireless advocacy to improve maternity services across the United Kingdom, work that I know they've been carrying out for many years. The pain of baby loss is multifaceted. Not only does it involve the unimaginable grief that accompanies losing a baby, but the emotional and psychological suffering that comes with facing the prospect of a life without your child, a future completely different to the one you had hoped for. Losing a baby can be loud, fast and chaotic, but it can also happen quietly, almost unnoticeably. Some parents arrive home from the hospital to a wardrobe full of baby clothes, piles of newborn toys, but an empty cot. Whilst other expectant mothers may wake up in the morning excited to be another day closer to their baby's arrival, only to find out that it was not meant to be. Half of adults in the UK said that they or someone they know had experienced pregnancy or baby loss. And according to SANS, 13 babies die shortly before, during or soon after birth every day in the UK. These families, as we have heard tonight, have to try and pick up the pieces, maintain their relationships, work, continue with daily commitments, all whilst tackling the emotional and often physical trauma of their experiences. They often walk this path alone, feeling like there is nobody that they can speak to about their indescribable grief, that they shouldn't speak about it, like they themselves have sometimes failed. This is not the case, and no woman should have to suffer in silence. In the case of my constituents, Hannah and Simon, not only did they have to come to terms with the fact they would not be taking their baby boy Austin home from the hospital, they had to face the reality that this tragedy was avoidable, that their baby would have survived had the Trust recognised and responded to concerns identified in the fetal and maternal monitoring. And Hannah and Simon are not the only ones. Connecting with other parents in Sussex resulted in them hearing stories from other families whose experiences were concerningly similar to their own. Between 2019 and 2023, the University Hospital Sussex NHS Foundation Trust paid £58 million in compensation for 60 medical negligence claims related to maternity and obstetric care. This is the second highest amount of compensation and third highest number of claims across all NHS trusts in England. This, and Hannah and Simon's story, points to a larger systemic problem at the heart of maternity care. It was clear then, as it is now, that successive governments have been asleep at the wheel in relation to maternity care. And it's the families at the heart of this that pay the price. Families like Hannah and Simon's, whose baby Austin should have been starting school next year if things had been different, like Hannah and Simon's daughter, just 3 when her little brother died, who should not have to continually ask us why her friends got to bring their siblings home, and she had to say goodbye instead. This family, like too many across the country, deserved better. Now they themselves are calling for change, so no one else misses out on a lifetime of memories with their child as a result of avoidable mistakes. As part of her inquiry into maternity care, Donna Ockenden provided a blueprint a starting point from which we could put an end to this scandal, make maternity care fit for purpose, and put an end to these unnecessary deaths. However, these nationally applicable, immediate and essential actions of the Ockenden report have not all been implemented. Not only this, but the government has dropped the requirement for every ICB to have a women's health hub. And it's announced cuts to the National Service Development Funding for maternity services from £95 million in 24-25 to just £2 million the following year. Is it any wonder, therefore, that the UK is underperforming compared to other countries in the OECD on infant and newborn mortality? Or that according to a CQC report in September 2024, 65% of units are not safe for women to give birth in. We want our country to become the safest place in the world to have a baby. But this can only be achieved if accountability is taken for these failings, lessons are learnt, and concrete steps are taken by the government to put an end to this national scandal. We've heard from a number of honourable members this evening about the impacts of deprivation and of ethnicity in terms of outcomes for maternity and for babies. The colour of your skin, your bank balance, or where you live should not be deciding factors in whether you and your baby live or die. Quite simply, maternity care should not be a lottery. I very much welcome the Secretary of State's presence this evening, and I really would like to endorse the comments made by honourable members for Melton and Siston, Horsham and Chichester, that families who've lost babies through medical negligence need to be taken with the government on this journey for reviews. And I think the Sussex families would be furious with me this evening if I didn't say to the Secretary of State that they're not happy with how the reviews announced in July are going so far. So I urge the Secretary of State to do everything in his power to listen to the families and take them on this journey together. So I pose a question to the Secretary of State from Hannah and Simon. These Sussex families have waited over a year for the government to appoint Donna Ockenden, the one person with a proven record of exposing failings and driving improvement. Thus far, their patience has been repaid with delay, confusion and avoidance. So when will the government act to stop these preventable deaths by appointing Donna Ockenden to lead the Sussex Review, and by confronting what has become a national shame for our country's children with a full public inquiry? My honourable friend, the member for Carl-Charlton and Wallington, said very movingly about him and his wife's experience of miscarriage, and I endorse his call for every miscarriage to secure a mental health support after a single miscarriage, not just 3.
Order. I'm sure the honourable lady will want to conclude her remarks very quickly.
The theme of this year's Baby Loss Awareness Week is Together We Care, and we do care. We together care for all kinds of baby loss. And for babies like Austin, as Hannah told me, we lost an entire lifetime. Our son never had the chance to grow up, to take his first steps, to speak his first words, and to make friends.
What I meant by